Hello, welcome to this edition of Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is Dr. TAS. I am the co-host of Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. We here at TAS and OnJerya, we talk about everything that's going on, things that are happening in the world, and things that we're just thinking about. And we like to share it with you and see what your thoughts are. So we like to keep it lighthearted, but have honest conversations and see how you think about how things are really like for everyone else also. So I am bringing my co-host in. I see her there. Hi.
Hello.
Now, now what is this, Lady O?
Excuse me. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I didn't know the memo had been sent broadly.
What memo?
Am I? Are you not in yellowish or something?
I am. It's in the yellow family. Goldish,
Yeah,
yellowish color.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. I've got the memo too. I'm like, well, goodness gracious, we got the memo.
Great
Well,
minds think alike.
yes, yes, yes. That memo, even for podcasts, is real. It's real, guys. So I was reminding them that, we have these real conversations. Hi, Ricardo. Thank you so much for joining us about things that are happening and just, things that you talk about around the kitchen table, or you talk to your friends or siblings on the phone, or you're texting people about. And so tonight, guys, we're going to just jump right in. Tonight's topic is communication. Communication. Communication can be deadly. Without it, it can be deadly. With it, it can be deadly. We've got written communication. We've got verbal communication. We've got nonverbal communication, subliminal communication. We got so many forms of communication. But I want to really focus on, but we never know which way we're going to go, but I want to focus on the verbal communication and written communication and just how it can go to the left, and, and why it's so important to get a good understanding. You need a good understanding. And I can remember years ago, I used to know someone that would talk about a good understanding. And that's still sage advice. You need a good understanding. And so, Lady O, Miss O,
Yeah.
OnJerya, I don't know if you've experienced anything recently as it relates to communication, but do you understand why I think that's a topic that we need to tackle? And it's huge. So we're gonna have to pare it down. But do you understand what I'm saying about why communication is so important, and why I think we need to begin to massage this topic?
Oh, absolutely. Because communication, it's broad, right? Because you have communications within your relationships. Your relationship doesn't always mean your significant other, right? It can be your family. It can be co-workers, friends, foe, what have you. And if you are not effectively communicating, it is very easy to take what that person is saying and misinterpret it. And sometimes you're all up in arms, but you're up in arms because you really didn't understand what the person was saying. So that's why you have to ask those questions. Like they told you in school, you have to ask those questions. If you don't understand something, raise your hand, ask questions. You may have to do that. But I feel that even with that, like some people may feel like well, I don't want to ask for clarification, right? Because I don't want this person to feel like, like I'm not understanding, like I can't comprehend. Because, we so quick to be like, oh, they got comprehension issue. No, it could be that I might need you to restate what you're saying. The way that you stated to yourself, it makes sense, right? But the person on the receiving end really don't understand what you mean. So that's why they should be asking us clarifying questions. So, yeah, I've definitely have had my share of miscommunication. And yeah, that's why it's always best to ask those clarifying questions.
It is, and I was thinking of several things. I'm massaging a book right now, and I'm writing some stories to accompany some wisdom that's been passed down through generations. And I'm thinking about a particular wisdom tip that's been shared. And this is not the intent of it, but I think I'm gonna jump into it and use it here. Hi, Manswell. Thank you so much for joining us. The phrasing is, if you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. But I'm gonna tweak what I think was meant for this conversation tonight. There are all types of dogs,
Yeah.
and dogs have different mannerisms, just as humans do. And I'm gonna use the dogs as an analogy and their mannerisms as communication. And when you don't understand their mannerisms or their communications, you can then lead with fleas, and the fleas are the misunderstanding, the miscommunications. And I think that it is sometimes, as you stated, hard for us to diminish us in order to understand what is actually happening. And, I've been confronted with this on multiple levels over the last 5 days, maybe it's been. And, I'm always reflecting. And I've said it to you, I've said it to mama, I've said it to someone else. Because I always say, if they ask you, does she really do this? If they were to come up to you guys, and I've been saying this for years, and say, well, does she really reflect? She's always talking about reflecting. Does she really do that? And the answer is going to be, what is the answer going to be, OnJerya?
Yes,
Does she?
she does.
I do this all the time. So I don't just say it, I'm always doing it. And if somebody say, I think you do it too much, and they might be right. But for me, I always want to be better. And so I've been communicating with some people in writing, and I'm concerned when a person misunderstands, because as I was sharing with someone, when you go wrong, I'm hearing Michelle Obama in my head, but this does not apply to this. When they go high, when they go low, we go high. But when a person goes wrong, if it's not corrected, they're going to continue wrong. And so you have to correct the framework that they're using to engage in something. And so with this particular person, I have a concern about them because they don't understand. And for me, when you don't understand something, you're going to continue with the miscommunication and misunderstanding, and that's going to impact them in this process. And I want them to have a good experience. And so, I've been talking to a mentor about, okay, what can I do to help this person? Because when they move to the next phase of this process that they're working through, they're taking their experience from one phase into another phase. And as they said, it's a trigger for them. It triggers their anxiety. And it's like, but there's not been a correction. But their anxiety is being triggered, because they don't understand something. And for me, it's like, because they don't understand, I don't have the authority to help them to understand it, because it was taken away from me because of something that they did. And now I'm caught, it's a catch-22. I can't help them to understand. And because of how things unfolded, they are not going to believe me. They're not going to believe me, which means they're going to continue down a path that's going to be potentially harmful for them. And by the time they get to the end, they may finally realize it. But I think about all that's going to happen between this moment in time and say a year from now, when they're at the end of their process. And as a person who reflects all the time, I'm trying to figure out, okay, where did the communication go wrong? What could have been done differently? And I'm back to this thing of, how do we support individuals when they enter conversations unaware that they are not even on the same page? And that's the sad thing, because and I want you to help me with this, but I got to say this. I had a teacher, you never had her, and she said, let me see if I can quote her correctly. It's bad to not know that you don't know that you don't know. And she said this when I was in the fourth grade, and I've never forgotten it. It's bad to not know that you don't know that you don't know. And the older I've gotten, I understand what Miss Vita Mae Flowers meant. To not know that you don't know that you don't know. And she don't know that she don't know that she don't know. And now I can't help her to know what she don't know that she don't know. And that saddens me, that I can't help her. And that's the reason why, this thing with communication has been weighing on me, because this one thing could be so pivotal in this person's life and in their future career, their future profession. But my hands are tied and I can't help them. And then that makes me think about so many other people who are dealing with something similar. So I've talked a lot. Give me your thoughts on this, OnJerya.
Well, first of all, I kind of agree with Manswell. You know, you're worried about something that's above you now. Um, and, and with this particular situation, it really is. Let's be real. If you really thought one way, right, and you didn't understand what was being asked of you, let's stop going back and forth in writing, because clearly that's why we're now having a conversation, right? Because what the task that you were given was in writing and you didn't understand it. So at this point, we actually need to pick up the phone and have a verbal conversation. And I know nobody wants to actually have those because that's scary, right? Like, what you mean I actually got to talk to you? Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's a lost cause. I know that sounds really bad, but it's a lost cause. Because again, before it got to the point where it was out of your hands, a conversation could have been had. Like, that's something that easily could have been handled. And I feel like with a lot of things, sometimes that's what it takes. You know, I go down my TikTok rabbit hole, and I saw a TikTok where they was talking about the ways that, like, when you're in a relationship, like ways to communicate with your partner, right? And how a lot of people are texters, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
guilty of it. Like, sometimes I'd rather just send you a text versus picking up the phone talking to you. Like, and it's easy because you're probably doing something else. Life is life, and it's easy for me. Boop, 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 let me pick up this phone, respond back to you, and keep it moving. But also, depending on what the conversation is about, everybody can interpret that different, right? So you can say easily that, let me give you an example. So you can say, Teresa, are you having a good day today? Or Teresa, how was your day? Now, on the receiving end, you may be like, oh, my day was fine. Well, me on this end is like, your day was just fine. I mean, like, nothing exciting happened today. Like, it was just fine. Like, what's wrong, right? Because it's the energy, even though I didn't hear you say, oh, I'm just fine. It's the energy, that tone that comes back to that person, right? So that's why I think a lot of people are like, don't put it in writing. Please don't text me, because I don't want to be all up in arms, because we know it happens, because I do it sometimes too. Because again, I read your energy. I'm like, wait, what you mean? And I'm like, I didn't mean it that way, but that's how it came across, right? So in situations like that, you have to pick up the phone and have a conversation. I know people don't want to, but you have to. Um, again, communication is one of those things that's never going to go away, unfortunately. You know, like, we have to talk to people. We don't want to. I don't like to, but we have to. You know, we're not on the island by ourselves, so you know, we have to talk to the people, even though the people don't know how to communicate back with us, and we just have to smile and, you know, just bow your head and be like, okay, baby, I get it. But yeah. So again, in this particular scenario, it was nothing you could do. Like I said, if they were not willing to pick up the phone and have a conversation, it was nothing that you can do. And, you know, even right now, it's still nothing that you can do, because they are still stuck in seeing it how they see it. And you also have to be open, right? Like, you have to have an open mindset, because, again, everybody communicates differently. Everybody use different words. Some people use slang. Some people use colorful words. You know, just because you hear me using colorful words doesn't mean that I'm angry, right? That's just me expressing myself. And if you know me, and this is me talking about me in my other life, like, you may hear that, but it doesn't mean that I'm angry. It doesn't mean that I'm upset, that I'm bothered, I'm mad, I'm hurt. That's just how I express myself. But to the person on the receiving end, you know, they immediately be like, oh my God, you're upset. No, honey, I'm just expressing myself. And you over there in your feelings. Okay. And if you're taking it to heart, maybe you need to evaluate, why are you taking it to heart? Because it's not like I'm attacking you. But I think it's easy too to get in that victim mindset when you're talking to people, because again, it's how is the person on the receiving end actually interpreting what's being said, whether it's written or whether it's verbal. And I think that's one of those things that will ultimately never change. It doesn't matter, like, because even when you're on the phone, think about it, when you're on the phone talking to people, right? It's the same thing, because maybe I didn't use your language, right? And if you're, because I've been on the phone with you and you're like, OnJerya, I need you to state that. I need you to say that differently. What are you saying? What are you meaning? I don't take offense to it, honey, because sometimes my head be like, and my brain is like on 1,000, and my mouth can't keep up with it. So that's how it's coming out. So I don't mind if you ask me, like, can you clean it up? Can you state it differently? Because again, maybe I understand what you're saying, but before I respond to what you're saying, I want to make sure that I'm actually addressing whatever it is that you have, you know, stated.
Well, you know, I think that is so important. And you said so much, Anjay. I think that, first of all, what we have to remember is, and I say this all the time, everybody enters a conversation or
Right.
an experience based upon prior knowledge, prior experiences. And so we have to be mindful of that. And of course, I know there's nothing that I can do with what has already transpired because it's a done deal. And if I have to deal with it later, I'll deal with it later. But it's over until somebody tells me it's not over. But I still have to reflect on it because I have to look at what can be done differently so someone else doesn't have the same issue because I'm about solutions and that's just how I am. But also, as I stated, people enter into everything based upon their experiences and their knowledge. And as you stated, you hear me say it all the time because you did it recently. I won't try to have you to say what that word was because I was like, "What is that?" And you spelled it, and then I typed it in because I was at my computer, and I typed it in. And you said, "You looking it up?" And I said, "Yeah," because I can't even pronounce it. I'd never heard that before. You guys have
I don't.
probably heard it. I didn't know what you were talking about. Now, is it something that we can say here and not be thought of the bad? Because it's a slang word. I'm assuming it's a slang word.
It's a slang word.
Say the word. Everybody know it except for me. I'm the only person that don't be knowing stuff. I don't mind people knowing that. I don't know. Say the word.
What's the word thought? Was that what it
That's
was?
it. Yes. Say it. Say it. They probably know what it means. I'm the only person that didn't
A
know.
thought.
Yeah. I didn't know what that meant. And I said, spell it. And she did. And I was at the computer, so I typed it in. I guess she could hear me typing it. And so she's like, you typing that in? I'm like, yeah, because I didn't know what she was saying. Even now, I hear it, but it's still it's unfamiliar to my
Right.
ear. So so I didn't know what she was saying. And so, and then she told me what it meant. And I didn't feel bad. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't feel bad. That was new language for me. Um, and one, I didn't feel bad asking her to say it for me again and to spell it because I didn't know it. Now I know it. She had to remind me of the word, but I know it's a word that means what it means. My point with even sharing that is you don't know everything. You don't know everything. And you got to get to a place where you can lower your, I'm going to call it pride, your
Yeah.
ego, and still be a lifelong learner. And learning doesn't mean picking up a textbook, as I keep saying, because you're always learning. Every day you're learning something, or you should be learning something, but you are learning something. You may not think about it, but you're learning something. I reached out to my cousin, and if he hears this, he gonna know exactly who I'm talking about. I reached out to my cousin. He had the best food on in them stories on Facebook. I'm like, oh, his dad's a good cook too. I said, where did you get this fish plate from? And he said Mayflowers. I think he said it was Mayflowers up in Monroe, because it was just looking so good. And I was like, hmm. And he always had this good food, but I was like, it just didn't look like the Mayflowers food. But every Mayflowers is different, and I like Mayflowers, and I like the one in Monroe. But again, I thought, I done learned something good. They food looking pretty good. Next time I'm down home way, we need to go on up to Monroe so I can get me some seafood from Mayflowers. And this is not a paid promotion for them. But again, I didn't mind him telling me that it was Mayflowers. I learned that Mayflowers food looking pretty good from up in Monroe. Again, did I feel bad? No, because the food looked good and I wondered where he got it from. So again, we have to be willing to evolve. But when as Diane is in my head tonight, guys, when we get stuck on stupid, Diane's language, when we get stuck on stupid, and I get upset because somebody asks a clarifying question. I get upset when somebody is trying to understand what it is that I'm trying to understand, what it is that I'm needing, and I feel some kind of way. Well, that's when things go off the rail.
Yeah.
It goes off the rail, and there's no reason for it to go off the rail. And that's whether it's professional relationships, civic, fraternal, Greek, personal, sibling, parental, they go off the rail because nobody wants to give. But we're never going to be lockstep all the time. Sometimes somebody going to have to give. You may have to take a dive. You may not want to, but sometimes you got to take a dive to keep the peace. because everybody can't stand tall all the time. You just can't, because people enter conversations based upon where they are. But now it's not a pissing contest either. And then somebody explained to me a couple of years ago that that really meant it's a pissing. I didn't understand, guys. You know, I'm always learning. I don't mind sharing it with you guys. Because I was like, really? And she, yes. I said, oh, I didn't. I was just a phrase. But no, that meant it was a real pissing contest. I said, I like to share information with people. Y'all know I like to share it with you. So, but really, again, it's not a pissing contest. And we got to learn to be, excuse me, I have to learn to be more open. Let me speak for TAS. I can't speak for nobody else. Nobody else got that problem. It's my problem. I got to learn to be more open so that other people feel good. But understand this, I'm not going to diminish myself so that you feel good about yourself. That's not going to happen. That's just the way it is. Tupac said, never be the same. Just the way it is. Never be the same. I love Tupac. Surprise, surprise. Goma Powell, Jim Nabors. I love Tupac. It's never going to be the same. So you get the chance to see my quirky side, because there's many facets to Dr. TAS. Love Tupac. Again, I shouldn't have to diminish me in order for you to feel secure in yourself. Everybody should be able to step back, hear what someone is saying, and then run it through the computer banks, is what I always call it, process it, then respond appropriately. Because communication is fundamental, it is key, it is important to every aspect of our life. You know, last week we were talking about education and the parental and the uh, the parental and the school partnership and the community partnership. You got to be able to communicate. You talked about, OnJerya, not basically you losing your cool with the educators, with our teachers. It's still communication. They don't always say and do things the way we would like for them to. But you can't lose your cool. Bless your sweet soul. Bless your sweet soul. What a difference a day makes. You just can't lose your cool. I'm not telling you to unload, but I'm still making a statement. You can't lose your cool. You have to think, you know. So again, this thing called communication, it is it can be a booger bear, a real booger bear. And it's an exercise. Oh, I don't want to use that term. It's an exercise in we don't want to use that term because that'll get you in trouble. It's an exercise in resilience. It's an exercise in perseverance. It's an exercise in determination. It's an exercise in positivity. It's all of that, because it takes a lot out of you to communicate with people and to self-regulate at the same time. And then we wonder why our children have such a difficult time doing that. It's challenging for us as adults. Or am I the only one sometimes that feel challenged?
No, it's I look at it as this. I think sometimes people think it be gatekeeping.
Oh,
It's be gatekeeping. Cause nobody likes to know it all. Nobody likes to know. They say they do, but they really don't. And I think again, like depending on what the conversation is, it's easy, like I said, for people to feel like you're gatekeeping, and or like you're privy to information that they're not privy to. So it's like, oh, you're better than me, whatever. I also think a lot of people have like this made up, you know, reality, their reality, not the real world reality that we live in, but you know, their version of their reality in their head with certain things, and it's easy again to get caught up. And it's funny that you that you mentioned that. Yes, last week we were talking about having a wonderful, exciting bonding experience with the parent and the teacher, and then yes, less than uh I was wanting 24 hours, you know uh I had to have a heart to heart conversation with the school to be determined. So again, um and even with that, is still communication. Like it's the lack of communication, and that is an example as to how, when things are not done that it's supposed to be done, how things can easily go to the left. But as you stated, you have to self-regulate and don't go popping off. Even though you may want to pop off, don't go popping off. Because you know that if everybody's all up in arms, that ultimately no one's being heard. And I think that's really what it boils down to, is I just want to be heard. Some people just want to be seen, but the majority just want to be heard. Like, I have a voice and I should be able to use it. You may or may not agree with what I have to say, and it's perfectly okay. I promise you. It's okay. Like, we're not going to fall out over it. We're not going to, not communicate with each other anymore, but just understand that I have an opinion, you have an opinion, and you have to be open to receive what that other person is sharing. And sometimes it's hard, right? Because if you are someone who is very experienced, and that's probably not even the word that I want to use, but that's the word I'm going to use. You dibble and dabble in a lot of different things. You kind of know a lot of things. And so if you feel challenged by somebody, you're kind of getting your feelings, and there's really no need for that. So again, communication is important. I think that you need to be able to vocalize how you feel, right? Just like I said before, if you don't understand what's being asked of you, ask questions. If someone is stating something to you and you don't know what they're talking about, ask questions. As someone always tell me, bless his heart, get out your head. That's your problem. You're in your head because you're already like, it's like you go in defense mode, right? Because you feel like you're being attacked. So it's like you prepare yourself for impact. You brace for impact. There you go. You brace for impact. And sometimes there's no reason to brace for impact. It's just you need to be open to receive what someone is sharing with you. And I feel like it's nothing wrong with stating things in different ways, because again, it goes back to how we were talking about learning styles, right? We assume that just because I'm having a verbal conversation with you, that's how you comprehend or you understand what's being said to you. Maybe what I'm talking about, I need to write it out, right? So that you can read it, because maybe if you read it, then you can walk away from it, think about it, come back, pick it back up. Versus if I'm like having a conversation with you and I'm wanting you to make a decision, or I'm wanting you to, act on something now, like I want a response like right now from you about whatever the conversation is that we're talking about, and you're like, I need to think about this. Being comfortable with saying, I need to think about this. I haven't given that any thought. Oh, I never thought about it like that. It's perfectly okay to say it. I promise you. That other person on the receiving end is going to be okay, because I feel like as long as you keep that open line of communication open, or there, available, however you want to phrase it, that no one really gets upset, right? Because then I know, one, you either understand what I'm asking you or what I'm stating to you, or two, the person that need a little time, they can say, hey, I need some time to think about this, reflect on it, and get back with you. It doesn't mean that anyone should be, in their feelings, feel any kind of way. It just means that we as adults, we as children, we as human beings That's what we do. We communicate, and we shouldn't be afraid to communicate with each other. So, again, we just need to get out of our heads. We need to stop, bracing for impact. But I think that's easier said than done because, again, as you stated, everybody enters the conversation at different times. Everybody has different experiences. And it could be like what you're, not so much what you're saying, but like the tone that you're using can be very triggering for that person. And it's just a whole lot, a whole lot, a whole lot, a whole lot that we can go on and on and on and on and on with. But the bottom line is that don't be afraid to say how you feel. That's really what it boils down to. If you don't understand what's being stated to you, ask questions. Even if you think you understand, ask questions. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Just like we said last week, and I will continue to say it over and over again. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Because trust and believe, I'm definitely going to advocate for myself. I'm definitely going to advocate for me. Okay? Because if you don't stand up for you, then who else is going to do it? No one. So, use your voice. You have one, so use it.
Well, OnJerya, I think that I was just looking at some of the comments here. I'm with you there. As Mansell says, brain goes 1,000 miles an hour, and you can let it blow up, and that would be, and also getting away from that Captain Saver mentality. Also, of course, there's nothing like good fish, but that thought and seafood, I can't do anything with him. Bless his soul. Hi, Christy. Thank you for joining us. Listening while driving. Now, you make sure you keep your eyes on the road now, because we might go to the left. I don't want you to go to the left at the wrong time. But yeah, that popping off. But we're gonna pop. We're gonna pop, as our tour guide would say when we were in Ireland. We're gonna pop. But I was listening to you, Anjay, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this. So I'm gonna have to talk about this. Now, I agree with you, but I gotta talk about this from the other thing. We've talked how people gonna receive it well. Now let's be real, they don't receive it well. Now let's just be real. Now, because I'm real. Now people don't like the fact that I'm real, but I'm real too, guys. Because this is real talk with TAS and OnJerya. Now, this is real. I was in a conversation with someone probably about a week ago, and just in case you guys didn't realize it, I talk really fast, but I have to intentionally slow myself down. And sometimes I forget, and my rate of speech is closer to my normal rate because I talk really fast, and I always have. But I know I have to slow down. So I was having a conversation with someone last week, and they had emailed me something, and they wanted my opinion. Now, you know what I'm talking about, OnJerya, because you were copied on the email. I know you never looked at it. That's okay. It'll come to you in just a moment, what I'm talking about. Bless your heart. You may have already caught it. And so anyway, I looked at it. I gave you some feedback. I had a couple, and I critiqued it, then what I needed to do. And then I was going to send it to them. But I had one question. Well, I didn't understand one component. And I don't change, as Mike Murdoch said. I don't change. I am this. I hear in my head, I'm Alpha and Omega. God speaking in my head, guys. I'm Alpha and Omega. Not me. I'm hearing him in my head saying that. I'm the beginning and I'm the end. I don't change, meaning I am the same in every aspect of my life. That's who I am. I don't change. And it doesn't matter who I'm dealing with. I don't change. And and it doesn't matter the age. And this person's older than me, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their relationship is with me. They've known me my whole life. I don't change. So I picked up because I was going to send it back to them, but it was just one little piece, just won't quite making sense to me. Because I didn't know because it was really like almost like a dot, dot, dot. Well, what do you mean, et cetera, et cetera? Because it didn't make sense. So I called them versus just sending the document. And I said, I've looked at your document. I've made changes to your document. And I said, but you've got this statement here. What is this? And what is the purpose of this? Well, I really shouldn't have asked the question that way. Because again, by me asking the question that way, that then gave them the liberty to give me all this information that I really did not need for what I wanted. But that was on me. As I say all the time, you have to phrase the question correctly to get the answer that you want. I didn't, so I went with it. So the person gave me all the backstory, which I sort of needed because then I had to correct them because I wondered why the document was sent to me in the way it was sent to me, first of all. But I had corrected it. Well, that's the way so and so always do their stuff. Okay. Well, what do you mean by XYZ? Well, perhaps there's another suggestion. Well, you sent me an XYZ document. When you send me an XYZ document, there's no room for suggestions. Okay. Well, that's probably where we first started to do this. Okay. In retrospect, I'm reflecting now as I'm talking to you guys because I didn't reflect on it because it was business for me. So then they say something, and then I began to break that down for them, how what they were doing was incorrect. Well, I'm breaking it down, and I just told you I speak quickly. I talk really fast when I'm not conscious of it because it's what I know and I'm giving them what they need to know and I'm telling them the way it needs to go. And so I'm rolling like that commercial rolling, rolling, rolling. So I'm rolling. Well, the person's probably said, I don't know if they said I'm yelling at them or, I'm whatever at them. Well, I was never yelling because I never raised my tone. My voice never raised. Now I'm speaking quickly because I'm talking at my normal rate. I'm not talking at this rate. I'm not talking this slow. I'm talking fairly quickly. And this person knows that I talk fast. They've known me my whole life. They know I talk fast. And they go, well, maybe, because you know business and blah, 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 blah. And then I said to them, to do what you're talking about doing, you can't do this now because you have to then change XYZ. That has to be voted on. And so on and so on and so on. Da, 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 da. Well, I know this person very well. Anytime they're going to watch this, and I know them very well. And they're a good model for people because people enter conversations based upon their prior experiences. And when they feel uncomfortable, they either play victim or they get defensive. Or there may be other variations, or it could be a combination of that. Well, this person, this particular time, they may have been going to play victim and a little defensive. Well, I'm not going, because I know this person. We're not going to play either one because this is business. It's not personal. You sent this document to me. I didn't ask for this. I'm going to give you the best information that I can give you. And it's up to you to do with it what you choose to do with it. And then they asked me a couple of questions. Well, should I do blah, blah, blah? I said, now, and this is exactly what I said to them. I said, now, why would you do that? Now, some people said, well, I know you didn't say that. Yes, I did. I said, why would you do that? I said, that's an example of people having meetings outside of the actual group that's supposed to be meeting. And then when you get to the larger group, one person gets up and has changed what was agreed upon. We're not going to do that because that then causes hard feelings among the people who were part of the original group. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be negative, whatever phrasing you want to use. Let's think about what we're doing, people. Think about it. Think about it. Oh, okay. Yeah, how would you feel if that occurred with you? And someone comes in, and now they had changed everything that y'all had agreed upon. Well, I know this person, they won't take it well. Would they take it well, Miss O?
No, they wouldn't.
Not at all. Not at all. You know them. They won't take it well. But their thing was immediately as they were hearing me speak, and once it went a little, and I wasn't contrary. I'm just explaining how it's supposed to go. Then it was, okay, let me backpedal. As if I'm saying, as if what I'm saying is a personal affront to you. It's not a personal affront. Would you, as someone would say to me, and they do it all the time, don't you want to put your best foot forward? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. And thank you so much for making sure that I put my best foot forward, even when I don't want to. Thank you so much for making sure I do that. But again, we're entering conversations based upon where we are and what we think the outcome is going to be. So I don't want folks to leave here thinking that when you have a conversation with somebody, they just going to be happy that it's not going, that it is not going the way they thought it was going to go, because that's not the case. That's not the real world. I'm sorry. I'm not, passing out hogwash. That's not the real world, because most times it doesn't work that way, that it goes the way that you think it's going to go. It may turn out great, but it turns out great, but not the way you thought it was going to turn out, but it still turns out great. And that's the reason I say communication is such a challenging aspect of living, such a challenging but an important aspect of living. Is the victim with a passive aggressive behavior that irks, it's the victim with that passive aggressive behavior that irks my nerve. What is the best way to respond? Let me tell you, that is an excellent question. The question is, what's the best way to respond to a person that you know plays that victim role, but they are passive aggressive? Well, do you want to jump into that before I say anything, Miss O?
No,
Well,
go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I'm gonna tell you what I do is, and it don't work for everybody, but what I've learned to do over the years is, one, I'm not gonna play the game. I'm just not gonna play the game, because when you play the game, I'm the one that gets hurt. They don't get hurt, because see, I'm feeding into their victimness or their victimhood. So what I do is, I done got to the point now, because guys, I know it don't look like it, and thank you guys for the compliment, but I thank God, I'm over 50 now. So since I'm over 50 now, I'm not playing into that anymore. So I tell them I'm not playing in there. Mm-mm. I actually tell them, I'm not going to play into that. Mm-mm. I'm not going to play into that, and I mean that. And then if they this is the language that came to my head. So I'm Southern. If they rear back up at me, well, thank you so much. It's been a great time talking with you today. I'm gonna have to get back with you another time. So I nip it. Is that still that? No, that's Barney Fights. Now I'm on Andy Griffith. Nip it, nip it, nip it. I nip that. Done knots. I nip that. I watched Andy Griffith growing up. I nip it, because I'm not gonna take their negativity on. I have too much of my own stuff that I'm dealing with. I can't take on other people's negativity. I'm sorry. So I've gotten to the place now that I understand that this person, it helps them to survive their life and to live, and I get it. I get it. And whatever you have to do, whatever your defense mechanism is to help you survive your circumstances, that's fine. Everybody has defense mechanism. I have my own. But I don't have to become a part of your reality. Which book is it it's the Bounce Back, that distorted reality that I was living. You don't have to be a part of my distorted reality. And so therefore, I don't have to be a part of yours. So when I see that you're trying to suck me in, what is it? A friend of mine talks about it. I think it's the quote from The Godfather. Every time I think I'm out, they suck me back in. They suck me back in. I don't have to get sucked in to your distorted reality in order for us to be friends, in order for us to be family and be okay. So I'm not. I'm old enough now that I was like, no, no, no. I'm not going to go there with you today. I love you, but I'm not going to go there. And if it gets to be that they want to go there, I'm gonna cut that conversation short. And when we start a conversation again, I'm not gonna go back to that. That's over with. I'm moving on. Because if I don't, then what happens is we keep living the same thing over and over again. And we're on the hamster wheel then. They're never going to get off the hamster wheel. You got to remember that because that's their existence. That's how they maintain every day. That's how they survive. But if that's not my world, then I have to choose to get off of it or to never get on it with them. And that's harder done than the way I'm saying it. Because I've learned many years, let me just say this, guys, since y'all probably haven't heard me ever say, sometimes I talk in songs. So now I'm hearing in my head, I've learned the power of love. I've learned how to do that because I'm not going to do it anymore because the person has sucked me in so many times. Because they'll be fine. And then I'll be all out of sorts for a week or so. And it's not that I'm in my head. It's just I'm hollow because something has departed from me because I've interfaced with someone who likes the space that they're in, but they complain in the space that they're in, but they like that space. And then when you talk about that passive aggression, sometimes they're throwing jabs at you and you don't realize they're throwing jabs at you. Like I said to somebody today, look like you throwing a little shade, but they say they ain't throwing no shade, but you throwing a little shade there, but you don't think I see it, but you throwing shade. Well, some days I don't be up for that. So the best way for me to stay on the even keel and be self-regulated is not to engage. But you got to be okay with that. And let me say this. Sometimes these be your family members. It'd be okay. And sometimes it be your colleagues too. It'd be okay. Because I didn't say be disrespectful. They might be your mate. I didn't say be disrespectful. They might be your children. I didn't say be disrespectful. No, sir. I didn't say be disrespectful. But you've got to be able to prioritize what's most important at that moment in time, and then how you're going to engage. And after a while, you'll get to the place that you know how to engage with them, and you'll now I'm thinking about the Best Little House in Texas with Dolly Parton and Burt Reynolds. There's a governor, and he always do the little back step, and then you see him and no, you don't, because he's like doing almost like the moonwalk with Michael Jackson. It's a musical, and you see him, then you don't, because he's always backing his way out. You have to know how to back it in. It's almost like doing the extra slide too, I guess, or one of them cha-cha slide. You're going in, and then you're backing it up. You're going in, you're backing up. You got to know how far in to go, and then when to back it up. And of course, jump. And when you jump on out the way. Because again, you have to make sure that you are safe. Because unfortunately, they're not too concerned about your safety. Now, I could be wrong with that, OnJerya. And of course, when I'm thinking about a passive aggressive person, well, now I'm thinking about several victim people. Now I'm thinking about several passive aggressive people. They're not concerned about you because they can't see the role that they've taken on. They only see their needs. But that's not unusual, guys. Most of us only see our needs. That's life. We only see what we need most of the time. That's real talk. OnJerya?
I guess for me, that was one of the things that I have struggled with, mainly because I am the youngest. So if you are like, the baby of the family, you feel that guilt of like, I have to do, even if I don't want to do. But within these last good old couple of years, honey, and me being on, this little healing journey, rediscovering, however you want to phrase it, No is my favorite word. No used to be a word that did not exist in my vocabulary, particularly to my family. It was no problem. I'll make it work. Even if I didn't want to do it, I just did it to keep peace, right? Because that's what you think. Like, if I don't do it, I'm going to get guilt tripped into it. And then one day I realized, you know what? I don't care. And the reason why I don't care is because that's your problem that you're now trying to make my problem. So for me, I don't respond. Because if they say no answer is an answer,
Yes.
no answer is an answer. Because 9 times out of 10, the people that you're dealing with, you already know that's how they are. So you know there's really no way around it. Because if you give in and go with whatever they want you to go with and you don't want to do it, you're going to be disappointed in yourself because, again, you didn't stand up for yourself, right? And if you don't give in, then basically they're going to guilt trip you. And yeah, you may feel bad in that moment, like, I should have. But then as time goes on, it gets better. It gets easier. And I can give you an example without giving too much information, but I can give you an example that just recently happened. That just really recently happened. And I'm gonna try not to call no names, so I don't have to spare no blame, honey. But it's your family members. It's your family members. There was a few things that had transpired. Um, and they probably gonna watch it. It's okay if you watch it. I still love you. Okay. Um, and our mother, I love her. She's a good woman. Oh, she's a good woman. Was basically telling me, she was telling me, like I said, that I didn't say suggesting. She was telling, because she was telling me what she thought that I should do about the situation. And I kept telling her, baby, I'm not getting in there. And she just went on and on, guilt tripping me about, oh, y'all need to do that and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, I told her no. Because my thing is, if you want me to know something about what's going on with you, you gonna reach out to me and tell me. I'm not gonna hear it from the middleman. So why am I gonna go jump in something that don't have anything to do with me? Because I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna have conversations, and then that person is going to be like, how do you know? Woo, woo, woo. And now I'm going to have to act out character because I know I had no business getting in something that didn't have anything to do with me. So I stood up for myself and I told her, no, yes, I was Miss Sophia on The Color Purple. I said, no. Okay. Now, was my mother upset? I'm sure she was because she probably called the person that I'm talking to right now on the. She probably called Teresa and told Teresa, she hurt my feelings. Again, don't be calling somebody else to tell them that somebody else hurt your feelings. You talk to that person that hurt your feelings and let them know they hurt your feelings. But it was a win for me because I stood up for myself because I said no. And I felt good about my decision. So again, when you're dealing with those type of people, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to stand on your own 2 feet and stand with it. Because as you've already stated, Teresa, you the one that's gonna be all up in arms and upset, and them people gonna be able to accomplish what they accomplished, which was to get you all bothered. But baby, never let anybody get you out of character. It's never that serious. Because my word is no. I said no. I don't care who, what, when, where, why, and why it happened. No. And if you can't accept my answer, then that is now a you problem and not a me problem. And you need to learn how to disconnect. If they keep calling, you know how not to answer. If they pop up at your house, now I don't know how people do at their house, but here at mine, you can pop up. I can know you or not. I'm not going to the door. If you haven't told me, like, hey, I'm going to stop by, I'm not going to the door. Family or not, I'm not going to the door. So again, you have to get to a place where you're comfortable with self to say no and not feel bad about it. Because I'm telling you, in the beginning, it's going to hurt because you're going to be like, oh, I probably should. Yeah, you need it to. You need it to. Because what happens is that people then begin to take advantage of the situation and they start thinking like, oh, you're so sweet and you're just this kind person, and you then become a pushover, and they can just bully you into doing any and everything that they want you to do. Well, in fact, no, you cannot. So my response is stand on your word. If you don't want to do something, you don't agree with it, then you stand on it. Don't give in. Because again, you the person that's going to suffer in the long run, while that person have gotten what they wanted, whether it was to get you all up in arm, whether it was knowing that you didn't want to do something, but they were able to sucker you into doing something that they know you didn't want to do, but you gave in to do. No. Because again, as we always say, you got to take care of you. Because if you don't take care of you, then who else is going to? And so your mental health is what's most important. We don't talk about mental health enough. That's that bad word, right? But no, mental health is important. And people need to understand that you throwing an adult temper tantrum is not cute. And that it's okay for someone not to agree with you. It's okay. It's okay to disagree. Like I have an opinion just like you have one. We're not going to always see eye to eye, but I'm sure that if we sit down and we have a conversation, a real adult conversation, we can find a happy medium. So that would be my response. And again, in that particular scenario, I came out on top because I stood my ground. And yes, she's going to watch this video. And I love you when you watch this video, and we probably gonna rehash it all over again because now it's she's gonna feel like she was triggered, but I said what I said and I stood on what I said. And so that's what you have to do. You have to stand on it and don't budge on what you stated you was going to do, because again, people will test you. They will try to take your kindness for weakness, and it can be your friends, your foe, your man. Ooh, almost said your hoe. Woo! And that is the reason why I have to slow down, because I too talk very, very fast. I talk really fast. So I have to slow down because, again, if you know me in my other life, you'll be like, ooh, chat. Yeah. So, again, no shame, no shame in the game. Stand on it and tell them no. And if they got a problem with them, let it know. Beyonce say to the left, to the left. There you go.
Wow. To the left, there's the doubt. Got to stand on it. And another song just popped in my head, but I won't say that one. These songs tonight, and I'm on a song kick now. But I think that it's good to hear the different takes on it because we're saying similar things. Well, hi, Cyrus. Thank you for joining us. You know, it's good to hear the different takes on it because you're seeing it one way and I'm saying it a different way, but we're saying the same thing. You have to take care of you. And it's so hard to do that. But I thought about when you were saying that you took a stand. You
Yes,
basically
girl.
drew the line in the sand and you said, this is what I'm going to do. And you understood why you were doing it. It probably hurt our mother,
Oh, of
but
course.
what because I know it did, because I know our mother. But what you were able to do is going to help you in other aspects of your life because you were able to do it in your personal relationship. And remember, we learn our first teachers are our parents. We learn how to interact with others based upon our relationships at home. So to me, that's a wonderful, even though you just did your team still, that's a wonderful lesson to be able to enact now. And as Cyrus is saying, it's a part of self-care, which is so essential. And to be able to practice that and to be able to say it proudly, I did what was right for me. And when, Chris was talking about that the person that's passive aggressive, and plays the victim. Well, you see, that's part of their self-care. But when they're getting their self-care needs met at your expense, you're the one that suffers. And then you begin sometimes, not necessarily you, but we sometimes, we as general public, feel that we're not worthy, that we're not enough, that our value is less than. And we have to realize what's happening because basically people are gaslighting us.
They are.
You see, they be gaslighting us. Let me see a different word just in case you end up on gaslight. They manipulate. Ain't that something that Dr. Tars up on gaslighting? They be manipulating us. They be playing us. Another way to say it, OnJerya?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to be mindful of that because, like I said, we walk away wounded. They walk away feeling good. They empowered because they were able to get their needs met. So again, when we're talking about this communication, it is so important and it is so challenging.
Yeah.
It is so challenging. And I wish it was easy, but it's not. And it's like lifelong learning too. Every time you speak with someone, you're learning how to communicate with them better. Because
Yeah.
based upon what their day has been like, you're going to get a different version of them. And so you're having to adjust. Oh, I never thought they would speak like that. Oh, I can't believe that they said a colorful word. Oh, yeah. Oh, they human beings too. Oh, you're going to have to adjust. Oh. So again, it looks like I'm ducking and diving, ducking and diving. But that doesn't mean that I should think less of that person. I need to understand them from a holistic perspective. But more importantly, understand myself from a holistic perspective and what I'm willing to take and what I'm not willing to take. And once I'm secure in that, then I know how to operate in a positive manner. So I think this has been a very rich conversation about communication. OnJerya, is there anything that we've left out? No, who is that over there chatting with you? Oh, is that my twin?
Oh, no, honey, that's not that one.
Is it Alexis?
It's Alexa. She got her earbuds in, AirPod things. And,
Okay, so she's not trying to have a conversation with us.
no,
Oh, okay. She just being distracting.
pretty much. So
Okay,
disrespectful.
be your own children. Own children. I don't understand y'all. Be your own children. But is there anything that you feel? Did she not know we on live? This is what I. This you never know what you're gonna get with Real Talk with Tiles and OnJerya. This is live, and my niece has decided that she wants to have a conversation. Would she like to come on camera? Ask her. Would she like to come on camera? I
To
don't
come on
mind her coming
camera.
on because it seems that she wants to be part of the show tonight.
Do you want to come on camera? She said she's not dressed for that.
Okay, well, ask her when she step off stage. Then ask her when
Exit
she
stage
step.
right. Stage right.
Yeah, ask her if she step off stage because we're live on IG. Ask her to step off stage. I'm telling you, you just never know what you're gonna get. Taz Tuesday with Real Talk with Taz and OnJerya. You never know what you're gonna get. But is there anything that you feel that we didn't cover tonight as it relates to being secure in yourself, dealing with individuals who play the victim card, who are passive aggressive, who try to gaslight you, and communication? Anything that you can think of that you think that we need to share with leave with our audience tonight?
No, because I think that we pretty much covered everything. Again, I would just echo and continue to echo and continue to echo. Just take care of you and don't be afraid to establish boundaries because it is hard, especially if you're someone who don't know how to. And maybe that's a conversation, for another time is, doing the work of how do I establish boundaries. But I feel like once you get to a point of establishing those boundaries, and this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to accept, that things will get better for you. It's going to be trial and error. Again, people are going to get in their feelings, and if they do, oh well, they'll be all right. They'll live. Life keeps moving on.
Mm. You almost was almost like my child there. I almost want to say out of the mouths of babes. You just kind of cut and dry with it.
Yeah,
So they'll be okay.
they'll be all right.
So I can have whatever I like. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what T.I. said.
Well, T.I. said I had a song. I had to come up with a song to wrap this up. I can have whatever I like. I can set my boundaries and have whatever I like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight for Real Talk with TAS and OnJerya. You can have whatever you like, but you got to learn to set your boundaries. And you've got to learn to be okay having conversations with people who might make it challenging, because nobody said it was going to be easy having conversations. And sometimes those people may be your blood relative, but that's okay. They may be the people that's in your household. That's okay. They may be on your job. That's okay. They may be in your community. That's okay. They may be your child. It may be your niece.
Ooh.
That's okay. That's okay. But you have to do it though, because it's important, because we're all still continuing to learn. Let you guys know a secret now. We're not going to be here next Tuesday. So we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. I don't know if Anjay going to let me say where we're going to be, but she's shaking her head. So we're going to miss you. I'm going to put up a little post. We're not going to be here next Tuesday for TAS Tuesday. We'll talk with TAS and Anjay. We're not going to be here next Tuesday. We'll be back the following Tuesday. So keep that in mind. We're going to miss you, but we won't be here next Tuesday. So don't forget, we won't be here next Tuesday. We'll be back 2 weeks from today. So who knows what we'll be talking about then, because we're going to be seeing a whole bunch of stuff. And ain't no telling what we're going to have to share, because I know it's going to be some interesting stuff going down where we're going to be at. But until next time, make sure you take care of yourself before you make an attempt to take care of anybody else. Bye now.
Okay.